Warning, this podcast contains adult language and is not suited for children.
So I love how last week I said we were going to be under an hour and 45 minutes. I said that multiple times during the show, and yet we went 2 hours, and you didn't cut anything where I said we were going to be an hour and 45 minutes. You just left all that in there and made me look like a jerk. You know what that is? That makes you a jerk. So I'm Joe, and we're back in here at the Squared Circle Sit Down, where we talk about all things wrestling. I'm here with my jerk of a friend and your host, Drake. He's at the Lion Knight 42 over on Twitter, if you want to tell him he's a jerk for leaving that in there, because he does the editing, not me. I do nothing, I just talk. So you can find us here at the Squared Circle Sit Down on your podcast platform of choice. That could be Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Anchor, Stitcher. I think I got them all, right? Doing this off the top of my head this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. You can also find us over on YouTube, where you can comment, share, subscribe. We want some feedback. Feedback is great. And as I said, he's my wrestling therapy buddy. This jerk, Drake. Hi, Drake.
Hi, Joe. I was just trying to help you out with a Manifest Destiny thing. I figured if we left it in there, over time, it would just begin to shrink by itself. And I will tell you that if I had cut all of those, we still wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, I know. I only said it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Besides, it gives us a goal, right? It lets people know a little bit more about you and how you detest podcasts that are over 145, and a little bit about me and how I find it really funny that we never get under an hour 45.
Yep.
Probably
including this week, right?
Oh, I can't imagine, because this week is specifically based on a time-based match. So there's no way that we're going to make time.
Yeah, one coming up really soon.
Oh ho ho! It's next week, right?
Oh God, it is next week.
Haha!
Wow, time flies.
Time flies, unless you're in the Royal Rumble match. In which case, if you ask a guy like Rey Mysterio or Shawn Michaels, they may tell you time does not fly. They do.
Very fair.
Time does not.
Lots of people flying over the top rope. Yes.
That's also true. So, we're talking about the Royal Rumble this week. Are you excited?
Yeah, I actually am. I usually go out of my way to watch the Rumble, even when I'm not following the product.
Yeah.
Because it's exciting, right? I think a lot of people, WrestleMania is the biggest show for WWE. It's WrestleMania. How other companies say, this is our WrestleMania, because WrestleMania is WrestleMania. But the Royal Rumble is usually people's favorite pay-per-view of the year. Not always, but usually it's the one they get most excited about. It's got that match. The Royal Rumble match is exciting. There's surprises. You don't exactly know what you're gonna get. Sometimes there's a handful of names that can win, so you really don't know.
Yeah, you also get a lot of those surprise names that just weren't announced for the card or whatever, which are usually pretty cool. I was going to say that it's almost like a sporting event, right? More so than any other pay-per-view that the WWE puts on, where it's that thing that you can imagine people, going to bars to watch, or just sitting down in a large group to, at least pre-plague. But yeah, and it's one of the ones that my kids are always so excited for too, which I think is really cool. They're not huge on the WWE, and their enjoyment of wrestling comes and goes. But the Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank are the two where they're always let's fucking go. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's easy to see. It's an easy to grasp concept. They explain the rules quickly, and as long as you have a basic understanding of how wrestling works, it's not that hard to get your head around. And you can play favorites if you know who's in the match. Even if you don't know, usually the surprises are either somebody from another company that's making a debut, or somebody who's a legend returning, or something like that,
or the current Impact Knockouts champion, Mickie James.
Exactly. Who half the people watching are be like, what's Impact?
It's very cool that you get this opportunity for people to kind of come together and enjoy this It's usually fast paced where it matters. There's always some storytelling going on, which is really appreciative, and it's exciting. It's a fun event every year, no matter how droll most of the other stuff has or has not gotten.
Yeah, and I'm spoiled. I've said this before here, where I started watching wrestling. So the first WrestleMania season, which typically kicks off with the Royal Rumble, I got was 2001, and so that was just like the string of Royal Rumble 2001, No Way Out 2001, WrestleMania 17. Yeah, okay, it's hard to beat that three in a row
Oh yeah, definitely. 2001 Royal Rumble is maybe like one of the best Royal Rumbles in ever, which is really cool. But
easily.
yeah, you've got this really cool thing that you don't always get in these big wrestling matches, but I think was done really well here, where it's kind of like wrestling in three acts. Right, the 2001 Royal Rumble, you had it opened, and you had a lot of the enhancement talent, and you had this thing where they were like, okay, so the hardcore stuff was like a big play back then, and so they brought that in, and then you kind of veered to the comedy. You had Drew Carey in that Royal Rumble.
Which was
Um,
awesome.
yeah, right. That was hilarious, and he eliminates himself,
Yes.
getting away
After
from
offering
Kane.
Kane money,
Yep, because that works, and that kind of like leaned into the mid card, which was really cool, and a lot of guys got their spots in and stuff, and from there you ended up in this like what felt very much like a final act with all the major players in the ring that sort of just set up for the inevitable conclusion of that match, and it was really cool seeing how they executed that.
yeah, and I think the best Rumbles typically have that three-act structure where you do have something going on in the beginning, transition to something going on in the middle, transition to, okay, we're setting up with the major players to see who's going to actually win. I think all of my favorite Rumbles, all of the ones where I'd say I'd consider it one of the best Rumbles, have that to some degree, or at least I can remember something like that. And
Yeah, and
the
then
the other ones are ones where it's like I don't know what happened in the beginning of the middle.
yeah, and like the other like go to is the like guy comes out early, will he survive plot that they run,
Yeah,
which
like the Iron Man.
yeah, exactly, which is great, and it sometimes can also kind of slot in with the three acts, and they'll usually use that like second act to sort of push that person to the back and have you either forget about them or give them some time to cool off or whatever it is. But yeah, I absolutely agree. It's a part of what makes the Royal Rumble so entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. And you also like played a thing of obvious. I mean, they did this so many times. It was like, oh well, number 30 doesn't win, even though number 30 should win. And now, of course, we've had a bunch of number 30s win. But I've I'm a stat person. I like looking at stuff like this. Number one has won. Number two has won. Number three has won. Number four has never won. Number 30, 29, and 28, and 27, of course, because 27 is the lucky number, right? It's won the most.
I was actually
20,
going to ask if 27 is still the lucky number.
yes, 27 has four. I think a couple of other numbers have three. I think number one, number 30 have three. I think 28, if you count men and women, has three. Because forget who won for the women. That was 28. But Batista is the only guy to win from 28, and he did it twice, which is pretty cool for him. Not for everyone else.
Yeah,
But nobody's ever won from 26.
wow.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the highest number that's never won, men or women. Never.
That's so interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, so if you're feeling lucky, bet 26. I always bet on 9 and 16 because it's my birthday numbers. And they neither one had won at all ever until 2020 when Drew McIntyre won from number 16.
That's cool. I forgot he was so early into that rumble.
Yeah, well, that match had almost like a two act structure of Brock and then post Brock,
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep, that's fair.
but it was still very good though. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that Rumble, but I don't know if you want to get into your favorites, or if you want to just do more of a broad breakdown first.
Yeah, we can go right into some of the more memorable rumbles if you want.
Yeah, sure. You want to take one?
Well, I technically already started because I you brought up 2001, but I was
Oh
like,
well,
oh yeah, that
I
that,
could,
that one.
as I said, like I could gush about 2001. Like I love that match.
Do it.
I think the 2001 Royal Rumble is one of the most perfectly structured Royal Rumbles. One, they have so much talent in it, but they don't waste it. Every single person is there to play a very specific role, and they play it well. You have the Hardys are both in there really early. They get eliminated. Drew Carey's in there. It's comedy. Ha ha. Kane comes out. You have a legend return in the Honky Tonk Man who gets just blasted by Kane immediately in another comedy's bit. But then you build Kane until The Rock comes out. And then all of a sudden it's okay, here's a favorite. Because this was one of the ones where it could have gone a couple of different ways. Like The Rock and Austin were both favorites to win this match because you had Kurt Angle as the champion and you had Austin feuding with Triple H, who he previously in the night screwed out of winning the championship. So for WrestleMania, it was possible, even likely, that the title match could have been Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H. That was possible. It could have been Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle. That was possible. And it could have been The Rock versus Kurt Angle. Also possible. So The Rock and Austin are both likely winners. So you have The Rock in there, you have Kane in there, and Kane never gets eliminated. He just keeps trucking through people and sets the at the time record of eliminating 12 people, I believe, in the match. No, 11. Yeah, you're right. He record gets broken with 12. And you keep going, you hit the 20s, and so you get like the Kane and Undertaker alliance. You get Rikishi is a big deal because he comes out at 30. Austin comes out, but immediately gets like drilled by Triple H from behind and busted open like crazy. So, oh man, Austin might not win because he's just destroyed. And finally, you get down to the end where it's Kane, Austin, and The Rock. And then Kane eliminates The Rock, which is massive. And of course, Austin wins. But it's the third win for Austin. It's a career defining moment for Kane. The Rock doesn't look bad because he's The Rock. I think the Big Show returned in that match for the first time in a while. You had Haku shows up, which is crazy to think about that he's still around and kicking ass.
Completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I that's a match that I obviously watched back. I think it was one of the first wrestling VHSs that I owned. So yeah, I have a big attachment and big affinity to that show. But just I think it still holds up. I think you can still go back and watch that and be very thoroughly entertained start to finish.
Yeah, that was such a great one, and it very much had the like roller coaster moments, and it was a lot of setup that we'd see payoff for later that year, which was really cool. And I mean, again, we talked last week a bit about how Austin is this, at the very least, generational defining talent, but really might be, way more than that if we really look at it from that perspective. And this was another great Austin moment, and another one of those times where it very much felt like there was something in this guy that you just had never really seen before and never really seen again since.
Yeah, it was the last great year of his career. Going into that, like 2002 was very much a half year for him. So this 2001 was this, and this was one of those moments that set up to the title win at Mania, and it was peak Austin.
Yeah. Speaking of Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Royal Rumble, another Rumble that I think is worth talking about is the '98, which very much was kind of like a changing of the guard, right? You had this like, what did they call it? The new generation, right? That was the term for the previous. I think that's the coined term that they like to use was like the new generation, who had been doing the thing for a while, and we were kind of coming into the Attitude Era in full, and you really did see a story throughout that Rumble of that sort of shift from where we started to where we would come by the time it was at an end.
Was that the one with the three faces of Foley in it?
Yes, yes, it was.
Okay, I enjoyed that. I remember it enough to enjoy that because it's been a while. 98, it's been quite some time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's hard for me to like sit down and pick out exact moments that I know I really loved about that match. But it's one that definitely stands out for me. You had the like Terry Funk McFoley stuff that happened.
Oh,
At,
yeah, yeah. He
yeah, at
was
the beginning
in
of that match.
Chainsaw Charlie phase, I think.
Yeah, that was very much the Chainsaw Charlie Cactus Jack. And then you had the Nation of Domination were like primed for that Rumble, right? They were like on fire and had looked very strong going in. Five people in that Rumble, and they couldn't convert a win. Because they were already starting to like fall apart and stuff.
Yeah, this was when The Rock was coming into his own.
Yeah, Rock got 50 something minutes in that match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of The
It
Rock.
was him and Austin at the end. They were the last two. Or
No, it was I think it was him, Austin, and Michaels, and The Rock goes out, and then Austin throws out, and then Michaels is the last guy eliminated. I'm like pretty sure. I'll go double check. Give me a second.
okay, that's fair because it's been such a long time.
So long, yeah. And that's not one I've watched back in like recent history.
Me either.
1998.
It's bad because I'm actually on like Wikipedia just in case I need to look at something. And just scrolling up and down this page takes like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much that they put in it. Oh,
1998.
1998. Why did it take
Oh, the
me?
main event was a casket match between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker.
Oh, then I am probably wrong. Then I could have sworn that's what that was.
This
Hmm.
is the one where I think he hurts his back really badly.
Oh, was it? Uh
Yeah, where he
oh.
gets like he goes over the top and he like hits the casket on the way down, which
Oh
like
yeah,
messes up his back.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, The
The
Rock was the
Rock was
last
the last
eliminated. Oh,
one,
Farouk was the one right before that, and he was
right?
eliminated by The
Because it was
Rock.
like Farouk, Austin, The Rock, and one of the Foleys.
Dude Love.
Dude, love. Okay. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? I know what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Austin Michaels at WrestleMania that year. That's what I did. Because
Yes,
I'm old
yes.
and my brain has started to melt together things. So that's what it was. I was like, yeah, I know Austin and Michaels was because Royal Rumble, but it wasn't here. It was he won here and then he would have the match with Shawn Michaels.
It's
That's what
okay.
it
We got
was.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was but it was still it very much felt like a changing of the guard. You had a lot of the stuff that had been sort of like simmering starting to happen, like The Rock, who's getting you know the Rock status, and like the thing with him turning on and throwing out Farouk was a big deal.
I think it's one where you could look back because I think a lot of the early rumbles you can kind of write off because they didn't have the format yet. And then when you hit the mid 90s, everything was in a slump with WWF at the time. So the rumbles, like the ones that Sean won, are not great rumbles to go back and watch. His performances is fine, but like besides that, there's just nobody's in there.
Yeah,
But when you hit,
there's not a lot of content is the problem with that with
oh
those
no,
rumbles. It's guys doing moves for the allotted amount of time before meeting the top rope.
yeah, exactly. But I think when you hit the 2000s, like the year 2000 through 2010, I think is maybe the best stretch of Royal Rumbles. I think maybe with a couple of exceptions, like 2003, I think we talked about this before, it was such a foregone conclusion that Brock Lesnar was winning that Rumble that nobody else has a shot.
Yeah, and
And
like the match was fine. There was nothing wrong with that Rumble, but you're right. It very much was like, oh, okay, this is the Brock Lesnar Rumble. Cool.
yeah, exactly. And then I think 2007, the match itself is kind of a dud until the end with Shawn and Taker.
Yeah.
And both of them come out in the 20s. Well, Taker's 30, but like Sean comes out in, I think, the early to mid 20s, so they're not out there that long either.
Wasn't part of that the thing that made that match so like deflated was the big like threat in that match's like story was Great Khali, right? When Khali came
Yes.
out and he just started like destroying everyone, and it's like, well, regardless of how much time they spent booking him as like a monster or a threat, he was never someone the crowd really could take seriously because he couldn't bend his knees. So he came off more like a parody of Frankenstein's monster than as like a menace. And it really did hurt the match a lot, where you have this guy beating up everyone and chopping everyone to oblivion, and that's kind of all he can do. And it's like, okay, well, just take his legs out and throw him over the top rope. And it was really hard to buy that.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where he had already lost to Taker by that point, and I think he'd already lost to Batista by that point. So the the wind had really come out of his sails to any threat that he posed as a main eventer. So it all came down to Sean and Taker, and it's probably one of the best endings to a Rumble ever, where the two of them just had like a mini match in match itself, which was awesome. But the whole Rumble itself was not that great. And then 2009 was another one where the entire storyline was just LOL, Randy Orton wins, and maybe Triple H is the only guy who can stop him. And then it comes down to like Randy Orton and Triple H, and Orton wins. And I think there was more talent in that match than the '07 match, but it wasn't that great.
Well, we're talking about best finishes, though. We cannot forget 2005. That's one of the best finishes.
Oh yes, well, anything that puts Vince McMahon in a whole bunch of pain is legitimate pain.
My
Yeah, a
goodness.
botched ending to a Rumble.
A,
That's an
bot-
interesting one.
a botched ending to a Rumble where two guys who, even though they weren't like the huge like wrestling veterans that they are now, still had more than enough like under their belts that they shouldn't have looked the way they looked at the end of that match. Like every single person involved in that match, Batista and Cena and all of the referees were like, "Uh-oh, what the fuck do we do?" And it's like, guys, it's wrestling and you've been doing this long enough to be able to know that like just bullshit till they tell you what to do. And they
Yeah, really.
just look like they look like the kids who got caught stealing cookies, right?
Yeah, there are enough times that you look back where people have accidentally been eliminated.
Yeah.
I think I think there was one in where Alex Riley, if you remember Alex Riley, the
Oh.
Mrs. protege guy,
Yeah, angry
there
guy.
was a there was like an angle where he was supposed to be in a match, the match a lot longer to help Miz eliminate Cena. And then he like slipped and fell off the apron and got eliminated way too early, and that was a problem.
That's absolutely fucking hilarious. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there are some like if you go back and watch some classic botches. But on both sides, right? Like you've had those moments where like the big guys are supposed to get eliminated and they can't get them over the like that tipping point where they just can't get out of the ring. Or you have I forget what year it was where Braun Strowman had to throw himself out like twice because he gets like clotheslined and he's supposed to go over and he can barely get his legs up, so he comes back down and has to eventually just like shoot himself out over the top rope.
Yeah, Kali is another one guilty of that, where he just goes way too early before people even touch him.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, no, yeah, there are a lot of situations in that like the history of this match where things just don't go right. And it's almost a shame that we're a podcast and we don't have like a video thing, because I'd love to just sit here and watch a bunch of Royal Rumble like
Just put it on in the
botches.
background where as people are watching, you just have all sorts of stuff going on. Where much like my heat is going up in the background because it's 30 degrees here in New York, so we're freezing.
Mm-hmm.
But you would just have clips in the background of all of these horrible Rumble botches, like the greatest Royal Rumble with Titus O'Neil just like slip and slides his way under the ring and
Okay, to be fair, that
all of those.
entire show is a
The entire
botch.
Rumble.
Yeah.
You just put the entire greatest Royal Rumble up
Yeah.
there as a botch. That's fair.
Yeah, wait, here's how we can help out. Let's do some quick, simple sound bites that you can do over this. You ready? Here we go. Wow. That's embarrassing.
Oh no, there he goes.
Wait, 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 wait. Nope.
Uh-oh.
There you go. So now when you go and you decide you want to.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, I got one more. I got one
oh,
more.
one more. Okay, one more. One more.
What a maneuver.
Speaking of Michael Cole, there's a picture he put out recently. God damn, that man is jacked. It is crazy. All right, what's another Rumble that you want to bring up?
So there's so many good ones in that stretch of time, like 2000 to 2010. I personally like 2010 a lot. I know you said you like 2008 a lot. I don't know if you want to go 2008 first. I like 2008 a lot also.
Yeah, sure. 2008 had the we talked last week about Stone Cold Steve Austin and the like glass shatter pop, right? And how probably like the biggest reception that you consistently get in wrestling.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like uh, uh so you had the 2008 Royal Rumble where John Cena makes his return after you probably weren't expecting to see him until I think WrestleMania that year at the earliest.
Mm-hmm.
But also like we said last year or last week, also like we said last week, John Cena is just this absolute freak of nature who only ever takes like half to 2/3 of the time necessary to heal, and so that was probably the closest that he's ever gotten, in my opinion, to the like last shattering pop, where as soon as music hits, and you just had the crowd absolutely erupt.
I can agree with that. It was insane in Madison Square Garden. It was a very good Rumble too, where you had so much star power in that, where Shawn and Taker started, and then you have Cena, Batista, and Triple H at the end.
hmm You also
So
you
yeah,
also
it was
had
just great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You had the return of Piper post Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was a really cool moment to have, and it really was powerful. And as we said before, Piper's on my list as one of the greats, and it's always good to see him doing well, especially after a lot of the hardships that he had in his life. And you had Umaga, who was just still an absolute unstoppable beast.
He was very much the monster in the middle of that match,
Mm.
which happens a lot. Like talked about Kane in 2001. Kane was in there very early, so he played kind of the Iron Man, but also the monster. But in this one, yeah, Umaga was that monster in the middle that I think either Batista or Triple H eliminated toward the very end.
hmm
So that was a good role for him.
Yeah, and Cena also I think got some of the pop because he saved us from what felt like it was going to be another Triple H win. Like one of those moments where Triple H, even at that point in his career, was no longer the reign of terror, but was still this guy who you didn't really want to see put in those positions when you had a lot of other people who you were way more invested in.
Because Triple H and Randy Orton just kept going back and forth in that time period.
Yeah.
And with Cena out, you just felt like we were getting more Triple H Randy Orton, which all right, fine, but can we have something else, please?
All in all, I mean, it was a good match. It did the 3-part structure of a story very well. And the fact that they were able to keep a lot of the John Secret stuff, uh, they were able to bank on the whole "you can't see me" thing very, very well.
Yep, couldn't see him coming.
Couldn't see him coming. So I know you wanted to talk about 2010.
Yeah, 2010 I think is the last great Rumble that we had for a while because it again had the star power in it, but it also told the story. And for the most part, it was the story of Shawn Michaels and his one last try to get to the main event of WrestleMania because he wanted his rematch with The Undertaker. And going through all of that, you again had that 3-part structure of the early match. I think that was the one with CM Punk and the straight edge thing where he kept trying to preach to people in between eliminations. And then Triple H came out and Triple H took over the match for a while. And then you had Triple H and Shawn as DX.
So just real quick, I'm gonna cut you off because this is those moments where you see something or someone brings something up and just these memories like smack you across the face.
Yeah.
So back in 2010, I was living in my old apartment, and I used to have a lot of people over for the Royal Rumble, and we would, well, for like all the pay per views, really. And at the time, one of my friends' girlfriends was not a wrestling fan, but she would always watch with us because she liked to hang out and just whatever we were doing, she was into, and so she kind of got sucked into it a little bit. And I'll never forget how fucking upset she was every time CM Punk would eliminate somebody, pick up a mic, and go back to fucking preaching. And she got so angry about this. And she had that really classic, like almost kind of tropey New York accent. So it was perfect. She would get so mad. It just reminded me of this.
But that's perfect though, because that's what this is supposed to do. And it's creative, it's different. You don't see stuff like that in the Royal Rumble very often. There have been a couple of instances where somebody gets on the mic, cuts a promo, something like that. But this was consistent. He kept going for a bit, and until he eventually got eliminated. But it did wonders for him. Like people remember that, as obviously you just did. But then it turns into like I think I got up to like Shawn and Triple H together, and then Shawn very quickly turns on him and eliminates him quickly because he's like, no, this is about me and my I'm getting the job done tonight, and he goes almost all the way to the end and he sells the elimination so beautifully where he snaps, goes crazy, kicks the referee, all that stuff. And you get another one of the surprise returns of, I think this one was Edge, and then Edge wins the Rumble. So yeah, I think the last couple of guys out there were like Edge, I want to say Jericho, Cena, Batista, people like that. So you can tell there's like a lot of star power in there, a lot of good options that all could have probably won. And I think a lot of those people all ended up in title matches at Mania anyway.
Yeah,
So
Batista was number 30.
yeah,
And then it was like him, Jericho, Cena, Michaels, Edge.
yeah. I mean, that's a hell of a final five,
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah.
right?
And that came down to, so Batista eliminates Michaels, and then Cena eliminates Batista, and then Edge eliminates Cena. That's also the second time that we had a woman in the Royal Rumble, because Beth Phoenix was in that year.
Yes. She's the one who eliminated Great Khali, I think.
I think so. Give me a second. Yes.
We can see how Khali's
Yeah.
stock fell from 2007 to 2010.
Yes, she Kiss eliminated him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Then I
because
think
he
she
was
beat up
doing
CM
the
Punk.
yes, because he was doing the stupid Punjabi Playboy thing.
Stupid, you'd
I
say.
think I think that's one that happened. Yes, yes, I do.
Yes, it was very stupid. I will agree with you.
He was doing the Punjabi Playboy thing. I think that's when she was with Santino.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
It
I don't.
seems possible around that time, right?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Sure.
Trying to see if the rest of the card helps at all with that. It does not. Oh, that's
Probably not.
also that's also the year we had Undertaker and Mysterio. I forgot about that.
I like that match.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think that match is underrated.
Yeah, it's short, but that's understandable considering where both of these guys were at that point in their career physically. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that match is definitely underrated.
Yeah, it's a good one to look back on too.
That
It's not too
Royal,
long, so it's not like obnoxious.
yeah, that Royal Rumble also was less than 50 minutes.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
It is. It is. That's kind of nuts. I
Get
wonder.
in, get out.
Yeah, I wonder what the shortest Royal Rumble in like modern history is.
What do you define as modern?
That's fair because we're old and the time doesn't work the same way anymore. Even if we just said last like 15 years.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I
I
don't know either.
really would have no idea. Maybe that one, to be honest,
It's totally possible. Yeah, but that's what got me thinking about because that's crazy.
because I know it wasn't the next year's, because the next year's had 40 people in it,
Oh my
and
goodness.
it started a streak of not so great rumbles. If you don't mind me just going on this like tangent for a bit.
Go off.
Yay! So 2011 is the 40 man, and it gets won by Del Rio. Not great. and he enters like very close to the end, like 37 or something. I don't know, something like that, late. Then, yeah,
That's the one where they got people rooting for Santino fucking Morella to win a Royal Rumble.
yep, because he
Oh
was the
my goodness.
first sneaky guy who wasn't eliminated, but everybody thought he was eliminated, and then somebody celebrating, and he comes back in. We'll get back to that. So then the next year, 2012, was the year everyone had Chris Jericho winning, and they pivot and swerve and go with Sheamus, which is fine. Sheamus was not a bad pick, but like it, this was a weak Rumble. It was not a strong Rumble. So then you go 2013, which I think was actually a much better Rumble, but it's so forgettable. Where Cena wins, I think he last eliminates like Ryback or something. In the oh hey, once in a lifetime is now going to be twice in a lifetime, because the actual main event of this Rumble card was The Rock beating CM Punk to win the title to set up Cena Rock 2.
You see, Ryback just had to believe harder that he could win, and then maybe he would have. But I'm pretty sure what actually happened was he's the guy who wrote the script for that Rumble and was like, I know you want to put me over, but we should put over this John Cena guy, bro. And he made sure that happened. Oh, also, fuck Ryback.
Well, I'm considered a huge fan of that Royal Rumble, but honestly, I don't remember too much about it, which says a lot.
Yeah, same.
2014, though, is where we start going really downhill, because 2014 is when the crowd starts to revolt.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Why
So
is that, Joe?
so so 2014 was the year of Yeselmania, and Daniel Bryan wasn't even in the Rumble match. And it was so telegraphed that LOL Batista wins that people rejected the idea of Batista versus Randy Orton at Mania so much that they booed everybody in the match. When Rey Mysterio came out at number 30, a beloved baby face that everybody enjoys, they booed the hell out of him. They booed so much that they started cheering for Roman Reigns, which is so ironic considering what's coming, to win the match because he was in the final two with Batista. But LOL, Batista wins. And this is Reigns while he's still with the Shield. The Shield has not broken up yet at this point. So Batista wins the Rumble in a match where everybody's booing to end the night, which is not common at all for the Rumble, even when a heel wins. Then we get to 2015.
I want to take half a second just to have an honorary shout out that Cody Rhodes and Goldust in the pre-show, the tag team champions, lost to the New Age Outlaws in 2014 in a
Yep.
pre-show match for the tag team
Yep.
titles. It's really good that the WWE always has a really solid grasp on the value of their talent, and I think that this Rumble displayed that really well.
Yep. Well, if you loved 2014's Rumble, then man, do I have a Rumble for you. We get to 2015, and this is has to be up there for the worst Royal Rumble. It has to be, because it's so off the mark, the entire thing. There's one good match on the card, and it's the title match. But the Rumble match is just this is the Daniel Bryan one. This is the one where everybody wants Daniel Bryan to actually win, and they know he's in the match because he is in the match. But everybody knows that Roman's going to win. It's telegraphed that we're getting Roman versus Brock, and Roman wins. And it's not he last eliminates Daniel Bryan. It's not Daniel Bryan gets screwed. It's not any one of those things that would make sense. It's Daniel Bryan gets dumped out by Bray Wyatt before Roman even gets out there, and Roman comes out like before 20. So Bryan's out halfway through the match, which gives the crowd nothing to do for basically half the match until very close to the end, where they get a new hero in Dean Ambrose, right? And man, it hurts me to relive this. You get Kane and Big Show in 2015, all the way at the end of the Rumble, and they're teaming up and eliminating everybody, and not just like eliminating them, but like kind of casually and slowly just dumping them over the top rope. It's painful, and it's supposed to be, oh, you hate them so much, now cheer Roman because he's gonna win, but they don't. They hate Roman. They want Roman to go too. They want everyone in the match to get eliminated simultaneously and the match to end in a draw where everyone just simultaneously loses except for Daniel Bryan. But he's already eliminated, so that can't happen. But then, who comes out? The Rock. And The Rock gets cheered and he helps Roman. And then The Rock gets booed. And The Rock is confused because The Rock cannot process these boos because The Rock is used to getting cheered. And he helps Roman get rid of Kane and the Big Show, which is great. But then the people have a new champion, Rusev, because Rusev rolled out of the ring earlier onto the floor like Santino Marella back in 2011. He's seen how this goes. He gets back in the ring. The people want Rusev. It's Rusev Day before Rusev Day.
I'll never forget the pop for Rusev getting back in the ring.
Yes. But then Roman just eliminates him. And the place hates it. Oh man, was this bad.
Man, well, we were talking about the value of talent and understanding that. They also clearly understand the value of taking their audience response into account as well. The one thing you didn't mention, though, about this Rumble that was, I think, a record moment was the birth of one of the other greatest movements in wrestling history, Axelmania.
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 Yeah, okay.
My man still hasn't been eliminated from the Royal Rumble today.
Nice. But see, given that you loved 2015's Rumble so much, coming off of 2014's, did I not tell you this is a trilogy? We get to 2016, and if you didn't like Roman at the end of the Rumble, wow, you're gonna love him at the beginning, because this one's for the championship, and Roman's champion, and he's entering number 1. So you get Roman Reigns all night long. Oh man. Now this one's actually a little bit better, right? And for several reasons. One, because AJ Styles makes his debut at like number 3 and goes pretty long, so that's pretty awesome.
But even that they fuck up because they start playing this music that no one's ever heard before, and instead of showing us the I Am Phenomenal on the Titantron that makes everyone go crazy, they show us Roman Reigns' reaction gif.
Roman's confused face. So I understand that when you put somebody out there at like number 1 of the Royal Rumble and you need them to last all the way to the end, you usually have to do something to give them a break, because most people can't just go and wrestle for an hour, even if it's just punch and kick and like sit in the corner for a while, right? Like go under the bottom rope. So Roman gets taken out like pretty early in the match and has to do like a stretcher job. And this is another one of those things that makes the heels always look like idiots, because it's you take him out of the ring and you murder him, but you have 4 guys and you don't bother putting him back in the ring and tossing him over the top rope, his like completely lifeless body. You have 4 people who could act like pallbearers right now and just like pick him up, dump him in, dump him over. Congratulations, you fulfilled your goal. But no, you've successfully killed him. There's no way he could possibly come back. But then he does. So this is another one where the people got to root for enough people. Like Dean Ambrose was in there late, and then of course the surprise Triple H, which wasn't really a surprise because everybody saw it coming. And you get Triple H winning the Rumble and the title. Blah blah blah. Okay, cool. Your conquering heel has successfully gotten rid of the heavily derided babyface. I don't understand this WWE logic,
It's also
but it happened.
it's also phenomenal because it's one of those
AJ,
like what?
AJ is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that's true. But it's fine. It's fantastic because
Yes,
like we said over the last two rumbles, it really shows that they understood the value of their talent and the way that the audience reacts to it. Because when it's not, Roman Reigns, it's Triple H winning another WWE championship. Come on, guys, that's so exciting. Isn't it great? He needed more of those.
which we do have to actually look back on this and say this is a big reason why John Moxley is in AEW because he doesn't win this Rumble.
Nope.
Okay, that's fine. He gets a title match with Triple H after. Okay, fine. Which is probably good on Hunter for that because he wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. And then I think he gets to work with Brock at Mania, which is just the absolute dud of a match where he just gets creatively stifled the entire time. Like he gets shut down for everything.
Which is I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No, no, no. Go.
it's so crazy to me that happened. So obviously, I think Mox has proven over a fairly long stretch of time that there's no reason to doubt him. No one ever really calls him out on being full of shit or whatever. But also, Brock Lesnar seems so often behind the scenes to be invested in at least making sure that the matches he's in are valid and valuable matches. So it's so crazy to me, and like you said, it plays a big role in Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, whatever you want to call him, going to AEW. That Brock had no fucking time for this match, and B, the WWE had no fucking interest in being like, Brock, work with this guy. It's fucking Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, which I think that is just a small tangent to the side right now. A small but very important one of welcome back, John Moxley. Thank you for going through what you went through. Because you were able to articulate what you went through very well in a professional wrestling ring. And man, the end of that promo when he came back, those words are so cutting,
Yeah,
but so powerful in the way that he says it because it's him the person, but it's also him the character,
yeah.
and it's that very as you said so many times, it feels so organic.
It's I don't remember if I said it to you, but I know I said it to my partner where I was like, this is one of the things that I love about AEW and why AEW has a special place in my heart is because they give these guys these opportunities to just be real with the crowd, right? And that's exactly what this was, and it was great, and it's so good to see him back, and it's so nice to see him, clearly in a better place and able to really have the opportunity to talk to the people like that, and also just real quick, fuck that guy in the crowd, and fuck Bully Ray because I don't know if you've heard about it. Um,
Yeah, I never got to see what the person in the crowd actually said, but regardless, if you're heckling a guy that's just come back because of like he needed to be healthy to perform,
yep.
you're crazy.
I
And I saw the Bully Ray stuff where I'm like, dude, bad take,
that
really bad
seems
take.
that seems to be most of Bully Ray's takes nowadays. They're just bad fucking takes. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about anymore, and it's a real fucking shame. Um, and I'll cut this if you want. That's fine. But the guy in the crowd said, I believe the exact quote was, "Get this drunken piece of shit out of the ring."
Okay, well that's awful.
Yeah,
That's
fuck that
just
guy.
actually awful. Like that's terrible.
Yeah,
We were what going through 2016, right?
yeah. We had just talked about Moxley, Triple H, and the match that came from the end of the Rumble, and then we went
Okay,
to Moxley Lesnar. So yeah, we
yeah.
would be going
So
to the
so
next two.
2017, right? 2017 is one where, as you've been saying this whole time, they clearly have their finger on the pulse. They know exactly what they're doing, and this is one where again it feels better. Like it feels like a step in the right direction, but it still is still a dud. where Randy Orton wins last, I think, eliminating Roman Reigns. And this is the one where the Undertaker and Goldberg are in it, and I think even Brock Lesnar's in it too, where it's like the Brock and Wyatt family thing that happens.
Yeah, Brock was 26.
And Brock eliminates all the Wyatts except for Bray, and then Bray summons them back, and they all dump him, right?
No, Harper didn't get eliminated by Lesnar.
Okay, but they all
Huh.
got eliminated.
Yes. Harper gets eliminated after Goldberg comes out at 28, eliminates Lesnar, Rusev, and Harper.
Okay, and then gets eliminated by the Wyatts.
Yes.
Yeah, which then leads to nothing. Because then Goldberg and Taker happens, where that just happens, and then Roman eliminates Taker, which sets up the retirement, not retirement of the Undertaker. Okay, this was another one where Roman had a match earlier in the night, so everyone looked at it as we're safe. Roman Reigns is not going to be the guy in the Rumble match, and then he comes out at number 30 to a chorus of boos because everybody is like, "Can you make this go away?" I remember the memes of everybody wanted Samoa Joe, and then it was like, "Well, we gave him the Samoan named Joe." I thought that's what they wanted. Yeah, okay. Finger on the pulse, definitely.
Yeah, the final four that year were Jericho, Wyatt, Orton, and Reigns, which is where people were like, "Oh shit, maybe this year we finally get a Wyatt win. Maybe, please." Nope.
They did it the other way around, which was still fine because
Sure.
I remember the Elimination Chamber match where they let Wyatt beat Cena and AJ to win that match.
Oh yeah, there's a lot that can be said about the whole like Orton Wyatt storyline and like where it like thrived and where it died, because I think that there definitely was a lot more there that they didn't do that they could have. But yeah, there was a lot of solid payoff in that one.
Yeah, so this wasn't a complete dud. Like, still steps in the right direction. But where I think they finally got there was 2018. I like 2018's Rumble a lot. I don't think it's one of the best ever, but I think it's quite solid, start to finish. This is the one where very early on you started telling that that like Heath Slater keeps getting beat up on the way to the ring thing. You had surprise call ups like Andrade from NXT, and Shinsuke is your eventual winner, and I think he comes out in the early teens. But he's a very understated person in the match. Like, he's not somebody that they're looking at like, oh, he's going to go the distance 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Nakamura was 14.
Okay. And I think Finn Balor was very early, like one or two.
Rusev and Finn Balor were the first two guys in that match. Yeah.
Yes, and Finn Balor goes almost all the way to the end, which was amazing. So the final, I forget the final six. I can name five of them, which was Ray, Cena, Reigns, Balor, and Nakamura. So
Give
there's
me
one more in there because I
half.
remember they paired off 3 and 3.
Give me half a second. I'm checking. Da, da, da. Reigns, Nakamura, Balor, Cena, Rey Mysterio, and Orton are the
Randy
final
Orton. That
six.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
there we go.
Yeah, so they paired off in like 3 versus 3 of like the new people and 3 of the older people, which was cool. And then it got down to 2 and 2, and you had I think Balor, Cena, Shinsuke, and Reigns, and then you get down eventually to 1-on-1 of Shinsuke and Reigns, and everybody's going, "Oh no, it's going to be Reigns again," but no, Shinsuke wins to immediately set up the match between him and AJ Styles.
Which, man, what we could have had.
Yeah. Now I know part of it is like, oh, what we could have had out of that feud, what like the matches could have been better. They could have been maybe giving Shinsuke a title run, even briefly, like all that stuff.
Even if you're not going to, so I'm not going to like take us too far off because like we're focused on the Royal Rumble here, but it stems from the Rumble. It's the match that the winner gets, so like fine. Even if you're not going to give Shinsuke a title run, because as we understand it, this is kind of his retirement run. He's taking it a little easier. The guy's done so much in New Japan, just like physically, and as far as his career goes, I don't blame him at all. But like, damn, it was such a middle of the road match at best. Out of two guys who we know for a fact can burn the house down.
Yeah. And this is also the year where we had the first women's Royal Rumble match, which has nothing to do why I like the men's match that year so much. Because I just think it by itself, like standing alone, I think it's that good. But the women's match was won by Asuka, who also goes on to lose at WrestleMania. And in a match where I think a lot of people would argue that she should have won that match. I'm not going to say Shinsuke should have won the match at Mania. Like he didn't necessarily have to, and I understand the Mania match is the one that kind of like set up the heel turn to go on and do other stuff. But
Yeah,
like we never got the AJ Shinsuke Wrestle Kingdom sequel
yeah,
that we wanted.
yeah. And then the women's Royal Rumble. Uh, I've said this to you, where like Asuka Asuka's had such a weird career since they brought her up from NXT, right? This woman was absolutely unstoppable. Her career since the call up has felt kind of like the catalyst for what worried a lot of people with the carrying cross thing and some of the other. It very much was this thing where you set this person up to look incredibly strong and incredibly powerful. No one beat her. She vacated the title, right? In NXT, ultimately.
Yes,
Yeah, she
she got
vacates.
injured at very where she had to go away for like a month and vacated the title, but she vacated it basically saying, "I'm leaving. I'm getting called up."
Yeah, and she had, I believe, broken. She had broken Goldberg's kayfabe streak at that point.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And then you bring her up and just don't commit to her ever. And it was so supremely frustrating. And the Rumble was a really good opportunity for them to be like, here, we get it. We made our mistake. We got it.
Well,
This is
they
yours.
were they were committing to her through that.
Yeah.
They committed to her through Mania because she got called up that like October, November. She was on the Survivor Series team and she was the sole survivor. She was still undefeated. I like through the Rumble. She wins the Rumble, which she should have, and she stays undefeated through Mania. But then she just loses to Charlotte in a
Charlotte.
match where it's by no means as good as any of her NXT matches.
No.
It's still like a fine match, but like she loses, she taps out in a fashion where if they have that match in NXT, she never taps out like that.
Is
And
I might be remembering this wrong. Maybe I'm combining matches again because it's late. Is that the one where Charlotte's hurt by the end of it?
no, I don't believe so.
No. Okay.
I don't know exactly what match you're referring to, so like
I'm
I
gonna double
might be
check.
wrong.
I'm gonna
But
look it up.
okay. But just to continue briefly, like
Yeah, please.
she didn't really get derailed until that. Like people were shocked when she tapped out. Like the crowd reaction was legitimately surprised. Like not Undertaker loses to Lesnar surprised, but like
It was still.
shocked that oh hey, like this undefeated streak that has been this dominant force of nature competitor just lost to Charlotte like that. Okay, this feels weird. And as you said, it feels like they never wanted to commit to her. It felt very old school booking of here's the champion that we want to keep building. So we build up a challenger, feed him to the champion.
And
Except,
sorry. And then after, so I was wrong. That wasn't the one where she was hurt. But then after the match, they hug it out, which also like felt really forced.
yeah, it was the whole Charlotte, it was ready for Asuka thing. And like,
Uh huh. Ugh.
uh,
Yeah, like there's only so many times where you can put these particular kinds of accolades on people, and Charlotte had not really been positioned in a place where it made much sense for anyone, specifically Asuka, to be like, all right, you got me, congratulations, because it's so out of the norm for that company that you really have to build to that, and they didn't at all.
You know how it would have made sense
Hmm.
if Asuka was retiring,
Oh yeah,
or
sure,
if
absolutely.
Asuka was like, actually, I'm injured and need to take like 6 months off, something like that, where it's like, okay, you got me. I'll see you in 6 months. Bye. But
But
that
no.
wasn't it.
And while we're on the topic of this Royal Rumble, so Asuka wins, which was
Yep.
great, and then
Oh
Ronda
yeah.
Rousey.
Talking about sequelitis coming. Now we just had our Roman Reigns series. We get the debut of Ronda, which starts becoming a thing.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah.
again, you want to talk about divisive? Here's your divisiveness.
Oh man, definitely. Which, to be fair, like she maybe had the best match on that WrestleMania.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a fair
It's just
statement.
absolutely crazy.
Well,
And if
look
you
at
want
who
to talk
she's in
about
the
one of
ring
the,
with.
well, yeah, but if you want to talk about one of the best debut matches of all time, like
Oh
that's one
yeah,
of the best debut matches of all time,
yeah.
easily, bar none.
Couldn't have asked for anything better.
No, no. So then we keep going, and like I have to get to 2019 just to get to 2020. But 2019 is I think it's like a stadium show that they had. It
Yeah,
was in like
I
a
believe so.
baseball stadium, I think, which is pretty cool.
Let's see.
But this was the Lovebirds winning of Becky and Seth, and I think Seth's win is ultimately pretty forgettable. I think Becky's is one of the biggest moments for women in WWE so far.
Yeah.
And she goes on to face Ronda. I don't. I mentioned to you before we started recording that I don't know where I would put Seth's win. I think he last eliminates like Braun or something, but it's one of those matches where I just don't remember much,
Yeah.
which is scary because it's so recent. And I can remember 2018 pretty vividly, and I can remember 2020 pretty vividly. So why can't I remember 2019's that much?
Well, part of the problem is as we get closer to like modern time, we started to see a lot more, and like this is not new, right? But we started to see a lot more of the booking problems that the company's been having, and it makes things a lot harder to cling to or emotionally invest in, and because of that, it's hard to remember some of these things because they don't feel like they matter. The only things I definitely remember from that year's Rumble are like, Becky wins. There's the whole drama line with Becky, and how that all went down. I know Brian and AJ Styles had a match at that Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, the title matches in that Rumble were actually very good.
Yeah, and
You
then you
had
had oh, go ahead.
you
Go
also
ahead.
had Becky Asuka, which
Yes.
was far better than Asuka Charlotte the year before
Yeah, and
at
Asuka
Mania.
beats her.
Yes, Asuka beats her clean.
Yep. You had Ronda wins her title, right? No, she already had the title. She
Yeah, she
already had the
retains.
title. Yeah, she
She's on
retains.
her. She won it the year before somewhere. I forget exactly where. It
Yeah,
doesn't really matter. And she's going on her Ronda Rousey destroys the world tour.
yeah. And then you had Lesnar Finn Balor, which was way better than I thought it was going to be. And even though it was pretty short, it was 8 minutes and 40 seconds long. Man, that match didn't feel like 8 minutes long. That's crazy. Like,
No,
I haven't watched it back in a while, so I might, but that match was very good at getting you invested because no one went in there and being like, yeah, Finn's gonna beat Brock Lesnar. But there is a glimmer of hope during that match where you're like, holy shit, go Finn, go.
yeah, Brock Lesnar. This was Brock Lesnar's run where he was very frequently the champion. So the Rumbles felt a little bit like, who's going to face Brock this time? And then you get to Survivor Series, and it's like, Brock Lesnar's going to have a match. Who's going to face Brock this time? And it usually was like, Brock destroys little guy. So it was like, Brock beats AJ, Brock beats Finn, Brock beats Rey Mysterio, Brock beats Daniel Bryan, that type of stuff. But those matches were all damn good.
Although Brock beats Daniel Bryan robbed us of what could have been an absolute classic in Brock Lesnar. Oh no, you know what? I'm
No,
wrong. I'm
AJ,
remembering
you're
it
thinking
wrong. I'm
AJ.
thinking AJ. AJ is the one who robbed us. He
I know
robbed
your
us of it.
joke.
Yeah, yeah, my bad. You know what? Joke rescinded. Carry on.
That's fine. Although Brock Lesnar, Daniel Bryan robbed us of Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles 2, which that could have been pretty interesting. So I think that's one of the big reasons why I don't remember the Seth Rollins win as much, because it really just felt like a who's going to beat Brock at Mania this year?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
oh, it's not going to be Roman again. Okay, so who is it?
And Seth Rollins being the answer to that question was not a particularly exciting answer because and I've said this before about Seth Rollins, where Rollins as a face doesn't really resonate super well because Seth Rollins' entire gimmick for a long time, and that's changed now, which is great. But Rollins' entire gimmick for a long time was whoever I'm fighting against, or I'm a bad guy, and that was kind of it, right? He had the whole Kingslayer thing with Triple H after he left the Authority, and then after that, he never really felt like he took off anywhere because he didn't have those reliable foils to play against. So you had him and Lesnar, and it just was like, all right, so it's Seth Rollins fighting Brock Lesnar.
The Beast
All right,
Slayer.
yeah, and it's like, oh, all right, I guess that's
I'm surprised he never whipped out like the Fiend Slayer for Bray.
they would have had to reference that match again.
Yikes. So yeah, 2019 came and went, but then it brings me to 2020, which I absolutely enjoyed 2020. I think 2020 was another one that was structured incredibly well. Whoever put together the 2020 Royal Rumble knew exactly what they were doing. Where Brock Lesnar enters number one, he sets the elimination record, eliminating 13 people in a row. And there are almost no spots wasted in this Rumble. I think almost everybody got used, or almost everybody was somebody of note. You I don't think you had too many tag team people in this Rumble at all, which is sometimes they just throw people in there. The quality of performers was maybe the highest it's been in a very long time.
You
And
had uh one of the Good Brothers,
I
and
think you had both.
oh, both of the Good Brothers, and I think that's really it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which they were technically a stable with AJ at the time. And this is the match where AJ got hurt. And so you never got the three of them together.
this was also where Edge made his return, right?
Yep.
Whoo, man! And there was so much. The build up to that was so awesome too. There was so much speculation online, and Edge just constantly being so Edge after he left wrestling, kind of, and I don't blame him at all for this, became kind of crotchety about people talking to him about wrestling, and you know when things happen the way they do for him, I don't think there's any way you can blame him for it. But he never really stopped being that. So when people kept being like, "Hey, you're in the Royal Rumble this year, right?" and he'd be like, "Fuck you! What are you talking about? Go away." Was just so good.
And I remember specifically Beth was in the women's rumble and lasted a very long time. And I don't remember if Edge even tweeted of like, yeah, she's there in that rumble, which is why I'm home watching kids. So it was like,
Yeah,
told you guys, like, obviously I'm not either that, or if I'm there, it's because I'm supporting her being there at the rumble. That's why I'm there. I'm here to watch my wife. And then he comes out, and oh man, what a moment.
yeah. I got teary eyed. I'll admit it. That was
But
a crazy moment.
but speaking of moments for that match, Keith Lee. Ooh,
I'm
if
gonna
you
not
need
scream into my microphone.
if you need a moment to go back to see the superstar potential of Keith Lee, go and watch the 2020 Royal Rumble, because man, it is everything. It is everything for him, and you can see it. You can see the connection. And he had never really been on the main roster like that before. Like he was not a. I think he was at Survivor Series, as part of Team NXT.
Yeah, that
So
was that was his introduction to the world at large.
yeah, and he lost to Reigns at Survivor Series in a match where he looked very good. He was like the last person eliminated or something like that. And then he pops up again here at the Rumble and goes toe to toe with Brock Lesnar. Woof. Amazing.
I am very excited for when he gets all his ducks in a row and makes his return. Because this is what a superstar looks like.
Wherever he goes.
Yeah, no matter where he goes. He
Wherever he
will.
goes, if you don't make him your world champion like within a year,
You're a fool.
you're insane.
Yeah. He's going to elevate whatever company he's in, not the other way around.
Yep. And so then you get to like the third. Well, you get to the middle, which I think is still pretty awesome. I want to just reference it very quickly, where Ricochet comes out, and Ricochet had been beaten the hell out of by Brock Lesnar recently, and so Brock is just like picking him apart. And then Drew comes out, and as Drew's getting in the ring, Ricochet low blows Lesnar, and then Lesnar gets Claymored and eliminated after he's gone through like 13 or 14 people. And then you get the second half of the match. It's great.
It was a great payoff to a setup. They we've talked before about how sometimes they don't really look forward in their booking, or they have a very specific like area where they're focused and everything else is just filler to get from point A to point B. But that entire thing with Brock Lesnar and Ricochet and the way it built up was absolutely perfect.
Yep. And then you get Seth, who is a heel now, coming out at number 30, having won last year's Rumble. So that's pretty damn good. The last group of people, I think if you look at like the last like 5 people that enter that match, you either have like the WWE's main event or like AEW's mid card, one or the other. I think like Aleister Black is in there, Samoa Joe is in there, like all sorts of really talented people are in there. And the Rated RKO reunion in the middle of the Rumble. So much good stuff. 2020. I think as time passes, this one ages well.
Was that also the first time that MVP came back?
Yep,
Nice.
comes back, gets eliminated by Lesnar,
Yeah, yeah.
as so many other people did. But
Sure. Yeah.
it was a cool surprise return. And then last year's Rumble, 2021, which is a difficult one to talk about, I think, because of no crowd and COVID and all of that stuff. Like, even though it's just last year, I don't remember it that well. Just crazy.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? There's a lot
Yeah.
of that in the last because the last like 2 years just sort of bled together, right? I definitely remember who won that match. You know, that was the Edge eliminating Randy Orton Royal Rumble win. I know we had Bianca Belair win on the other side.
Yeah, she went very far. Like, she came in early, like 3 or 4 or something.
I couldn't tell you who she beat to win it though.
I think it was Rhea Ripley.
Was
I
it?
think it was
Okay.
the two, because I think they were the two favorites. So
That makes
the
sense.
two of them made it almost all the way. Yeah, Rhea came in also pretty early, I think. But it was a good match. I think maybe if it had a crowd, I would easily consider it the best women's rumble of the 4 of them. But without the crowd, it's just so hard to commit it to memory.
Yeah, no,
But I think they
absolutely.
all worked really hard.
What else do you have on the card that year? I know you had. Oh, that was Drew McIntyre knocking out Grandpa Goldberg in
Yay.
2 minutes, something like that.
Wow, they went 2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, it's a hell of a stretch for Bill, but he made it work.
Yeah, right.
Oh. I am so curious what his longest match is in his like last few years return.
Goldberg?
Yeah,
I sadly want to say
him and the Fiend.
it. No, it might be him and Taker
Oh shit,
in the match where
the
they
other
both are
one.
dropping each other and almost dying every other move.
Oh my god.
Because it probably takes them more than 30 seconds to stand up each time they go down,
Yeah.
which just adds to the match length. It's a joke, but like, man, it's sad.
It's sad but true. Is the unfortunate thing.
Should not have happened.
No, bad decisions on many parts, and nobody's not at fault in that one. That's all I really have to say about
Yeah. Okay, we're getting sad. I don't want to get sad.
it.
Who's winning the Rumble this year?
This year,
Yeah, who's winning the Rumble? It's 2022. Who's winning the Rumble?
Biggie.
Biggie?
Big E's winning
Yeah,
the
it's
men's Royal Rumble. Hang on, I have to roll a die.
Mickey James, Impact World Champion.
The current Impact Women's Knockouts champion, Mickey James. No, maybe Alexa just came back, right?
Alexa was my pick until she came back.
Okay, that's fair. Um, because they, for some reason, haven't dropped this gimmick. But I just don't know who else it's gonna be. Right? It could be who. Okay, so who are the women's champions right now? I'll put myself out there. I don't remember.
The current women's champions are Becky and Charlotte.
Okay, so it can't be
Becky on
Becky.
Raw, Charlotte on
Oh,
SmackDown.
and Charlotte's
I
gonna be in the Rumble, right?
Yes,
But not
she's been feuding with
Becky.
Lita.
With Lita.
Yes, who is back and in the Rumble.
What?
Yes.
That's kind of dope. Has Lita had a match yet?
No.
Oh, I was gonna ask
Yeah.
how she's looking in the ring.
No idea.
That's wild. That's a crazy one.
Yeah.
Edge is on Raw or SmackDown now.
Edge is on Raw.
Oh, okay. Less awkwardness. That's good.
Yeah. I would hope that whatever has happened between them has been discussed like adults.
Oh, sure.
There's no possible way for me to know that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it seems like everything's fine. We've had the like Matt Hardy Edge stuff where they seem completely okay with each other, and stupid people do stupid things sometimes, and sometimes the people who are at fault realize what they've done wrong, and sometimes they don't, and that's on them, whatever. Anyway,
specifically for the women's Rumble, the first one was won by Asuka, the second one was won by Becky, the third was won by Charlotte. I had Dana Brooke picked for my fourth one just to keep the ABCD going, but we went to Bianca, so we went backward.
So then Charlotte wins again, obviously.
No, I'm thinking we get an A, so I was going Alexa.
Oh.
So I was like, we're gonna go A B C B A B C B A B B C over and over again for however many years.
And Asuka's not back yet, right? Because I could go for.
I think she is.
I could go for an Asuka double down. Let's go.
I think that is one also. I wouldn't mind seeing babyface Asuka versus heel Becky, and I think that could work. I also do think that Alexa is a favorite.
Yeah. Okay.
But besides them, I don't know.
So now that I know she's back, my pick is Asuka. It's probably going to be Alexa, but my pick is Asuka.
I'm going to stick with Alexa.
And Biggie 100% for the other one.
Even though I think that Alexa has dropped her chances significantly by keeping the same gimmick and being back before the Rumble.
Let's not say that she has dropped her chances, because there's no way for us to know if it's a decision she's made. Chances. There we go. Let's be fair about it, right?
Creative has doomed her.
Doomed.
Yeah.
Yep.
But besides that, I don't know who to pick for the men's Rumble, because all of my picks are in the title matches. Which is, yeah, I would be inclined to go Biggie as well. For the sake of being different, I'll throw out Kevin Owens.
It's a good name.
Yeah, I don't believe in him, though, in winning the Rumble, which is really unfortunate. Just, I don't see it. But nobody has momentum. They love to throw around momentum, but I almost feel more like I'd rather bet on Bobby Lashley losing his title match, winning the Rumble, and facing Roman than anything else. Or, like, I don't think Roman loses. I don't see Seth winning the Rumble. I don't think Brock loses. So I don't know who else to pick.
I mean, there's always Drew, right? Drew's been a guy that they've consistently been starting to lean on over on SmackDown, right?
Yeah, I just don't see him winning a second Rumble.
When was the last time we did Drew Reigns?
Survivor Series 2020.
Okay, and Drew eliminated Reigns to win the Rumble he won. There's something there, and he's one of the people who we haven't seen fed to Reigns in a while. I could see it. I could definitely see it.
I agree. I think that Drew versus Reigns is definitely a match that's coming sooner rather than later. I think we have a Saudi Arabia show coming up where we might get Brock versus Reigns.
Oh, yeah, that's the Don't Say Elimination, because it would be Awkward Chamber event.
Yes, the Saudi Arabia Chamber.
Uh-huh.
I think that might be Brock versus Reigns, and I think that whatever chamber they have is that person maybe faces Brock, or
Yeah.
maybe like
Whoever
because if
whatever show doesn't win the Rumble.
yeah, because I could equally see Drew winning the chamber and
Mm-hmm.
going on to face Roman if he's not, because I know he got hurt for a little bit. I don't know if he's fully good to go for the Rumble,
Okay.
which offsets things. But then it is a thing of like who faces Brock. I would give a really outside shot at Woods,
Complete the
just because,
trilogy.
yeah, they could pull the trigger on that story.
Do
They
it.
could.
Do
I
it.
I would love to see them do it, but like that's a thing. And then
Woods
there's like
Mania. Let's go.
the super outside shot of like them going with somebody crazy, like Austin Theory or something.
Okay. I gotta bring it up. I had to do it once. So the week that they released the statement about AEW's self mutilation and hyperviolence is also the week that Vince McMahon tells Austin Theory if he doesn't go out there and win, he's gonna leave him in a pool of his own like blood and vomit or whatever it was. Stay classy, WWE. Stay classy.
Yeah. Oh man.
Man.
More and more,
Austin,
he just comes off as a senile old man.
yeah, it's rough. It's a real goddamn shame as you look at what maybe is the best heel in the history of wrestling. I would make that claim. I think Vince McMahon is definitely one of, if not the best, just bad guy character in the
Top
history of
five.
wrestling. Yeah, top five,
Easy top five.
maybe top three. I put a lot of stock into that particular thing, and it's something you've
Oh yeah.
never really seen redone with the same kind of force behind it. Like they've tried a lot. You've seen a lot of companies, including the WWE, do so much to try and do the evil authority, the bad guy boss
Yeah.
again, but nothing has come like Eric Bischoff, in my opinion, is probably the closest they've come. And even he doesn't really fit the bill because where Vince was this powerful guy who, even when he was like out of control, he was just vicious enough to make it work. Bischoff always came off more as a weasel, right? Um, but so it's kind of a shame seeing Vince sort of reduced to this.
Yeah. Yeah. I that's why I'm like, I hope there's something behind this where I would give like the outside shot at Austin Theory, but I don't think he's skipping over the mid card completely. I think he's somebody that's like gonna beat Damian Priest to win the US title or something like that.
Yeah, I mean he just beat Finn Balor in like 5 minutes or something, right?
Well, apparently they've completely given up on Finn Balor. I don't
Yeah. How long is that contract?
know. No idea.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's frustrating. But yeah. So, wait. You forgot. You forgot about the big one. Forgot about the big one. Obviously, Cody Rhodes.
Oh man.
Cody Rhodes is gonna win the Royal Rumble. Let's do it.
Yay. Okay.
Win the Royal Rumble, beat Roman Reigns, take the WWE Championship over to, or the Universal Championship over to AEW. It does it. Let's do it. Let's go. Here we go. Forbidden door kicked open.
Yep. Yep. So you've got Biggie and Asuka,
Yeah.
and I've got Kevin Owens, and actually, you know what? Screw it. Woods and
Let's
Alexa.
go. Let's go.
I believe in the King.
Believe in the king. Better than the last king.
It's really sad that I actually believe in Xavier Woods as my pick more than Kevin Owens.
Why is that sad? Xavier Woods is amazing and deserves it.
No,
Also,
he is amazing and he deserves it. It's just I feel like he's such an outside shot
yeah.
that when's the last time they've taken a shot like that? It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
Shinsuke.
maybe.
Shinsuke might be the last guy.
I don't know if that's an outside shot though.
Well, he's not a them guy.
Okay,
Or
that's
Woods
fair.
Woods is more of a them guy, but like
Well, okay, so
Shinsuke is one where it's like I don't know that they would ever believe in Shinsuke.
I would dispute that Woods is a them guy for the same reason that I wouldn't consider Zack Ryder a them guy, where in order to be a them guy, you have to be made by them. Woods, much like Ryder, was made by the internet. His
Yes,
ability to
yes.
connect with people had nothing to do with the WWE. which was just one of the mediums that people like acknowledged him through. And I think that that's one of those things where I think he's got the same sort of stigma as a guy like Matt Cardona or Zack Ryder did.
I can agree with that.
But
I
he
think
also is on
so much of him is self-made now.
yeah, he also is on TV now though, so like maybe he has a better chance because of that.
It's possible. I also know that they pissed him off with a lot of things, with up, up, down, down, and releasing people and what he can and can't do.
Yep.
He doesn't really put out content anymore.
Oh, did he just stop?
Like that channel, almost all of the shows that he was doing on that channel featuring other people don't exist anymore.
Jesus. That's
Now,
really
of
fucking
course, part
heartbreaking.
of that is probably he's working with G4.
Sure.
So a lot of his time is invested in that. But I know he wasn't the only one running the channel.
Yeah.
So obviously, but like with Cole gone and Breeze gone and so many others that have appeared on the content gone, like they would feature the BRE, which was like Shayna and uh, Dakota, and I think they're the only two that are still there. Yeah, Mia Yim is gone,
Yeah,
and
Yam's gone.
Jessamine Duke is gone.
Yep.
So like half of that group is gone, so they're not going to appear on the content anymore, and they just stream independently.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And he can't even like kind of raid their channel, which is a fucking shame. Like he can't
yep,
just
no,
appear
because
with
Up Up
them.
Down Down is WWE owned.
Yeah. It's really really you know what? That's not the premise of this episode. We can do that another time, but we're getting
Yeah,
sad
fair.
again. So
Trying to be positive. Let's go, King Woods. Win the Rumble, please. I would love it. I would love this underdog story of finally the. He's not like a little guy, but he's the littlest of the New Day. Gets
he's
the
a little
job done
guy.
and slays the beast, Brock Lesnar. Like Brock doesn't even have to go heel for this.
Oh.
Brock just has to be like the guy who's like, I'm not taking you seriously.
Yeah,
Like
this is a
I'm
joke.
going
You're
to kill
fucking
you.
with me, right?
Yeah,
This is adorable. All right, buddy. All
yeah.
right.
Or they could just have him face Reigns and actually have that title match and he loses. But I don't know. I could see Big E winning. I think Big E is easily one of the favorites,
Yeah.
even if there is not a long list of favorites this year. And let's go number 9. I finally got my 16 to win. I need number 9 to win.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Big E or Asuka at
Men,
number 9. Let's go.
men or women, I don't care.
Doesn't matter as long as it happens.
Doesn't matter to me. Or 26, I guess. 26 could get the job done for the change.
All right, so let's jump back in time for a second.
Yeah.
And here I'll set it up. 2 matches from the Royal Rumble pay-per-views that aren't the Royal Rumble that you think are worth mentioning.
Do you want me to say both right now? Or
Uh,
do you want to do one? I'll do one.
yeah, let's go 1-1. Let's go 1-1.
Okay. 2015. Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. I think that's the right title. Pretty sure. No, yeah, the Universal title didn't exist yet. Yay.
Oh yeah, yep, you're right. Yep.
If you want to talk about how that Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar match was like 8 minutes long, this match is like 22 minutes long, which is crazy. And Brock Lesnar is a freak of nature in this match. Not to mention like all the other matches where Brock Lesnar is a freak of nature. But this is 3 guys who are bringing it the entire time. You have Brock Lesnar mauling people. You have Brock Lesnar selling for people. You have a John Cena versus Seth Rollins match in the middle of it. You have Seth Rollins, who also is Mr. Money in the Bank at the time. So he technically has an automatic rematch, should he want it, immediately after the match.
I forgot about that.
Which of course he doesn't take because Brock just kills him. You've Brock taking a sick bump through the table where they come out to like almost do a stretcher job for him of like he has broken ribs and all this jazz. And then he just pops up and just starts suplexing and F5ing people because he's mad. 20 minutes into a match. And he counters the curb stomp into an F5 and wins. It's an awesome match. It is the only match that you should watch from that pay-per-view. It is a bad pay-per-view otherwise, but that is the one bright spot of the night. Definitely go watch it. totally worth the 22 minutes or whatever it is to watch it.
That's a good one. And yeah, yeah. Again, 100% agree. That is the only match worth watching from that year. So I'm going to go a little bit further back in time. I'm going to go back to 2000 for mine. I have to go
Okay,
with,
good.
yeah,
Because if you didn't go with this one, this was my second one.
yeah, Cactus Jack and Triple H is
Yeah.
definitely one of my favorite, and arguably one of the best non-Rumble matches on a Royal Rumble card. You have, like, Foley has always been really good at making guys, right? That cementing moment. He does it here with Triple H. He'll do it again later with Randy Orton in almost the same fashion, although less violent because times had changed. And he's done it a lot throughout his career. But the Triple H Cactus Jack match had so much story already going into it, right? And there had been so much about setting up the positions these guys were coming into it from. So as they got in the ring and as they tangled up and as it just devolved from the wrestling match it started as to the just absolute murder fest that you knew it was inevitably going to become. Man, just that match knew how to do pacing really well, which I really appreciated. Two, there's no point during that match until it's over where you realize you're exhausted, which, in my opinion, is the real mark of a good, like, violent match. I mean, it's the mark of any good match, but especially with, like, hardcore matches where you get a lot of, like, weapons and blood and thumbtacks and barbed wire and whatever and fighting wherever. You have this thing where a lot of the time people will just, it feels like it goes on a little too long, right? And I know you're not a huge fan of the, like, super violent matches. I know we've talked about that once or twice, but I appreciate them when they're good. And if they're not good, I tend to treat them like, I'm gonna coin a phrase from one of my favorite internet shitheads. It's kind of like an outlaw mud show, uh, where it just falls apart very quickly. But this was so perfect in its pacing, and it knew how to keep you invested emotionally. It knew how to ride the energy waves of what came before it. You had some, like, really great spots. You had Foley ending up with a face full of thumbtacks by the end of that match. Then you have, The Rock shows up, and all of that happens, and Foley gets under the handcuffs. And even after, like, the match is over, right? You still had Foley just had to keep going. He had to keep doing Foley things, which was great.
Well, because this is like one of the great storylines that nobody talks about,
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
this comes off of years of history
Yep.
of the history, like the Madison Square Garden show of what, 96 ish, 96, 97, something like
I
that,
think it was 97. Yeah.
where Cactus Jack shows up like for one night only and just beats the piss out of Triple H because he's getting punished for the curtain call.
Yeah.
and and then you have he gets fired because he and Trips and Steph are on like their power trip, and then comes back because The Rock has like the whole roster ready to walk out, and they're like, "Oh, you want a title match?" And he just beats Mankind bloody, and the whole promo of him coming out and be like, "Yeah, you're right. Mankind is not ready to fight you at the Royal Rumble, in Madison Square Garden." And then he just takes off the mask and he takes off it. He's like, "But I think these people deserve a replacement, and I think you know the guy, and it's Cactus Jack."
Yeah.
And it's like, and Triple H, like the visuals of his face
Absolute sheer
dropping,
abject terror.
yes, of this man is going to maul me. He is going to do what Brock Lesnar is going to do to me, and I don't even know who Brock Lesnar is yet. And
Yeah.
he has that thing, and Jr. I know this because it's in the promo for the match, but like,
Yeah.
it's something, and I've gone back and watched this match several times
So
because it's
many
so damn good.
times. Yeah.
But Jr. selling because it's like it's Foley, and Foley's from Long Island, and this is Madison Square Garden. This is his home. Like, this is gonna be a bloody mess, a massacre for Triple H, and this is gonna be just a walk in Central Park for Foley, and that was so perfect. It was so perfect. It was a brilliant match.
Yeah, there's so much that went into building that properly, and they had done such a good job of making Cactus feel like this really terrifying big deal. So it really did, as you went into it, just you had this It was like a car wreck almost, where it's like you're so excited you're watching it, you can't look away, but goddamn.
And it was one of those matches that made Triple H.
Oh yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, Foley's so good at like being the cementing block in these guys' careers, and it really was one of those times where at the end of that match, you looked at it and you were like, "Oh shit, Triple H is legit. He did all this. He went through all this. He took his ass whooping like a man. He put on a great match in a match type that he hadn't really done too much in the space of, especially compared to some of the other like main event guys at the time, and yeah, it absolutely did help make him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like it's just all the blood and the violence and the gore. Like, you just can't be putting that on TV.
No, it's really self-mutilation is not a joke,
The
and
worst.
the way that sponsors will react to it really is a problem. People are not comfortable with things like that. It's really unsightly.
What was it like, Stacker 2 back then?
Yeah.
So I think we were past Slim Jims.
Oh man, yeah, it was like Stacker 2 and were they doing the QVC ads yet? Not QVC.
God.
The speakers. I forget what they were
Yeah. Oh,
called.
that
Yeah.
was around that time, right?
Yeah.
And then we got to like 5 Hour Energy. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that match is great.
Yeah, so what do you got for your other one then?
This is tricky if you're only doing two of them. But
We can do more, but I can't promise you an hour
it's okay.
45.
No, two is good because some of the ones that I'm thinking of, I'm like, nah, not that one, not that one, not that one. But I'm gonna go to, I think we mentioned this before, of what year is it? 2017? And I mentioned it last week, of AJ and Cena.
That was my other one, you son of a bitch.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
respect. Yeah, take it.
There's so many good ones though. There's
So
at
many
least
good
one or
ones.
two good, really good ones that you can think of in like the next 5 seconds.
Yeah, but that might legitimately be my favorite like singles Rumble match. Like I have a bunch to say about it after you're done with it. It was there are very specific reasons why I feel that way. And like
Okay.
that's not a definitive statement, but like off the cuff, that's one of the things that I feel like I can confidently say.
I'm gonna just point to one thing about it, and then you can go off.
Ho ho ho.
Where there are not many matches where you will see an entire match happen, and it's a damn good match, and then the match ends, and everybody puts down what they had. Everybody just looks at it and says, "We just watched a wrestling match. It was really good. We watched history. I don't care who I was cheering or booing. I'm gonna stand up and give this a standing ovation." That almost never happens.
Agreed.
Unless somebody's like retiring or something. But that's what happened in this match. People were so pro AJ, and yet at the end of it, everybody just said, "Okay, yeah, it was a damn good match. It happened. He got there. 16 titles. Congrats." And then Cena, of course, like goes and like celebrates with I don't know if it was a Make-A-Wish kid or somebody from a different charity or something. Just because he's Cena, that's what he does.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, man, this is a little over the top. This is one of those like, how many heartstrings can you tug on at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a hell of a moment, hell of a match.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if there's more things you want to say about it, please feel free. Like I can pull another match.
I think you're going to cover a lot of them, and I don't want to just like gush about all of the moves that happened because of AJ Styles is AJ Styles, and I literally was just talking last week about how one of Cena's last matches is somehow one of his best matches, and that's nuts to me. But it's John Cena, it's AJ Styles. These are two of the best ever.
Yeah.
Very different ways, but they know how to put on a damn good wrestling match, and they did.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so one of the things that you said before about how we never really got the Tokyo Dome rematch with Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles. Well, this is it. This was from beginning to end a New Japan match. For years, people have been talking about how John Cena can't wrestle, right? The 5 moves of doom, and he's overhyped and what. And it's not true, right? And it's very not true, and it's kind of a projection of the frustration of how John Cena was booked and the way that he was presented, and I get that, and I respect that completely. But this match was such a good indicator of how wrong that is. And you've got two guys who are incredibly talented storytellers in the ring, which to me is always going to be like the most important thing. But you've also got two guys who understand how to work within the styles of their opponents and have kind of made a career out of that. AJ Styles, not counting the first like 7, 8, 9 years of his career in like TNA, but like after he stopped being just the phenomenal spot monkey guy, he really became this fully fleshed out wrestler who understood how to work with whoever he's in the ring with. And that's not to say his younger years weren't amazing. They were phenomenal. But haha, but he really did just pick up so much and expand himself and put himself in a position where he could wrestle almost anyone, which is why he's one of the best in the world. And even though John Cena has worked a very different style his entire career, including in that match, he's also a very talented wrestler, technically, when the situation presents itself for him to be. He can wrestle against guys like Kurt Angle. He can wrestle against guys like Brock Lesnar. He can have those moments, and we've seen them maybe sporadically, but we've seen them through time. And this match was very much two guys from two very different worlds. The story really just wrote itself, where AJ Styles is arguably the John Cena of not WWE. Like, it doesn't matter where you want to go. If you want to look at TNA, he was that in TNA. If you want to look at New Japan, he's that in New Japan. He's a guy who has been working for almost the same amount of time, has carved his way out, and has had so much success not being, John Cena. And now he comes here, and this is the like icing on the cake, right? This isn't him having to prove himself. AJ Styles had nothing left to prove. Hell, I'd even argue AJ Styles had nothing left to prove before he won the WWE Championship. But John Cena is trying to put a capstone on a career. And this was a match about two guys who got in the ring and said, I'm going to put every single fiber of who I am on the line for this match, because it's not just about us, it's about the legacy of our careers. And when I say it was a New Japan match, that's what I mean. It was these two dudes who kept pushing each other to that next level to try and get one over, and refusing to say die until there was nothing left in the tank, and even then trying to keep going. It was passionate, it was talented, it was romantic in the sense of what wrestling is. It was this absolute love story of wrestling that you don't really see a lot in the style that WWE presents anymore. And that's not a riff on them at all. It's just the way that they went about doing what they did was very much not a WWE match, and it shined because of that.
Yeah, it was very much AJ Styles versus Shingo Takagi, right? It's him versus John Cena being like, yeah, I've said it before when we were talking about New Japan and everything. Like, it's very John Cena in the John Cena is John Cena. John Cena does what John Cena does. He moves forward. That's it at John Cena speed, and he you could see it in how he does things. Of I think they had the SummerSlam match the year before where AJ won after kicking out, I think, of a super attitude adjustment, like off the top rope or something like that, or he countered it, one or the other.
I think he countered it. I don't remember if he kicked out.
But he kicked out of a regular one then. And this was at a time period when like not everybody's kicking out of finishing moves yet in WWE. Like, we're still getting to that point of like the 50,000 finishers in a match.
I think Cena was one of the only people who would have started kicking out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so AJ is the guy that he started doing the attitude adjustment, roll over, pick you up again. Here's a second one. And it started being the, oh, no, no, no. Here's the exclamation point, right? It's the very much Okada, like I'll rainmaker you, and if it doesn't get the job done, I'll just pick you up and rainmaker you again. Like, I'll just keep hitting rainmakers until you stay down. It's not, I don't need to deviate from being Kazuchika Okada. I will eventually put you down. It doesn't matter how many it takes. I'm not going to look at it like I failed because the first rainmaker didn't put you down. And John Cena, I think, got to that level of, which is why you said it's very New Japan, of John Cena hit that point of like, look, dude, if you kick out of the first attitude adjustment, I don't care. I've got another one in the tank, and then another one on top of that. I don't care if I have to hit you like 10. Eventually, you're going to stay down. Eventually, I will win because I'm John Cena and I move forward at John Cena's speed. That's it. And it's part of what made that damn match so good.
Yeah, it was it like I said, maybe my favorite, maybe the best singles match in Royal Rumble history.
Like I think for the Rumble, there are so many people that had matches over the years that you could point to that maybe they're easy to forget, but Brock Lesnar's had so many now. Um, Daniel Bryan has had several. AJ Styles, as we've already mentioned, has had several,
Mm-hmm.
and Seth Rollins, even Roman has had some good ones. But yeah, like there's so many, and I'm really weak when it comes to the earlier Rumbles about matches on the card that aren't the Rumble because I think I went back and watched all the Rumble matches, but not all the pay per views because man, that would be a time sink.
Fair enough. I think if I had to go like back in time, I don't know about the match. I think it was with like the Quebecers, but a really good Royal Rumble moment from like the '90s is like the Owen Hart heel turn in '94.
Oh yeah, that's a good. That set up the Mania match, right?
Yeah, yeah. Where he what was the term? He kicked his leg out of his leg. Is that what I think that's what the the promo was? But yeah, that was the one that set up the Mania match. I think it was against the Quebecers, but like I'm not sure. If you remember, someone tweet us or
I don't
something.
offhand. Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, there are also a lot of those. Just those really good like WrestleMania moments. You got Eddie Guerrero like swapping numbers with people. You have a lot of these really cute or really interesting or moments that matter later. The Rumble was always really good about being, like you said, it's the road to WrestleMania. It's the beginning of the road to WrestleMania, and it really does set a pace a lot of the time. And I think we've maybe not seen that as much recently because they don't book so far in advance anymore. But I think it did do a really cool job with stuff like that for most of its history, which is another reason people remember it so fondly from year to year.
of course. And for another thing, just a quick question to ask you for this year: who do you think lasts the longest?
That's a harder question to answer.
Right? Because it could be anybody.
It really
They could
could.
just, somebody could come out number one, number two,
I mean,
and just
you make it like um Omos, right?
okay. Well, if you want to talk about somebody who might set like an elimination record,
Yeah.
that could be him. He could be
Or
somebody who comes out and like dumps 10 people in 3 minutes.
like new WWE tag team champion Otis, right?
Yeah, he got there.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Chad
don't
Gable is a guy who could enter like number one or two and stay in there for like 40 minutes.
yeah, yeah, that's very true. There's a lot of people who could. I haven't been following the program and the product rather enough to confidently be like, this is who I think survives the longest. This is who I think gets the most eliminations. Um, I don't know. Uh, I don't know. There's so many people who it could be. Not even just like roll of the die. It could be any one of these names that it could be. But yeah, like there are just so many options for something like that, especially in the last 2 or 3 years.
Definitely. Again, I think like a guy like Austin Theory is one that I could see going out there and like, yeah, Vince is just being a dick to him for no reason. I could see Vince being a guy like, actually, you're number one. And then he goes out there for like 45 minutes and then Vince is like, but you didn't win.
Yep.
So I sent a horse's head to your mother's house.
Fucking Vince.
Because why not?
Because why the
Dude's
fuck
crazy.
not? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, here's a fun honorable mention. Um, for the 2000. Oh shit, was it 2005? I think it was the 2005 Royal Rumble had the best commercial ever.
Oh, the Rumble?
The Rumble, yeah.
The actual, just like, what is it? Why am I blanking so hard on like the Jets and the
You can
Sharks?
do this. Yeah, there you go.
I'm getting it just got remade.
Yes, it did.
Spielberg
Come on,
just
you
put
can
it
do
in
this.
theaters.
You can do it.
Oh, West Side Story.
There you go.
Yeah, I
West
made it.
Side Story. That was, I think, maybe like the best commercial for a pay per view they've ever done, but definitely the best Royal Rumble commercial.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's really good.
Definitely a good one.
I had a
I
lot of
don't
fun with that.
remember so many of them, and the fact that I can remember that one says it from what 2000. It was 2005.
It was
Definitely
2005.
2005.
Yep.
100%. Yeah. You know what else was on that card?
What?
Edge and Shawn Michaels.
Oh my God! Was it really?
Yeah.
Was that
I don't
2005?
remember. Yes, I don't remember who won the match,
Ooh.
but I know it was on that card.
Shawn Michaels in 2005. Man, sometimes we talk about these matches and I just feel so old.
Right.
Edge won that match, by the way. Edge won that
Okay,
match.
that makes sense. Yeah, they had like a mini feud going on because then that turned into Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle.
Oh,
Which I mean,
yeah.
Want to talk about Kurt Angle from last week? Like, man, that's a thing. Like, I know you mentioned it last week. I'll just say quickly here,
Please,
but like,
yeah.
about how you're like, oh, this one might be Kurt Angle's best WrestleMania match, and I thought in my head about it of like just going through all of Kurt Angle's WrestleMania matches, and I'm like, I don't know which one is his best one and which one is his worst one because you could pick almost any of them.
Yeah,
like his worst one might be 22, which is him versus Ray and Orton, just because it's so short.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad match.
And it says something when you're absolutely right. There is maybe no wrong answer on the best Kurt Angle match.
Right? And
like WrestleMania match, rather.
Yeah, WrestleMania match. And
yeah.
like, man, you were talking about it, and I was like going through and we were talking about him and Eddie and everything. I'm like, yeah, well, who do you face the next year? Oh, Shawn.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was a dud.
Yeah. And it's so funny because when you look at it, it's one of those things that you don't know if it'll work on paper because their styles are so different and don't really feel like they mesh super well. But these two guys were just such good performers that they were able to find the links less in how they work and in how they tell their stories in the ring, which was a really cool, really unique way to approach that again is a huge benefit of the style that WWE presents.
And of course, it kicked off at the Royal Rumble that year.
Yep. Well, it feels like we've talked about some of the best Royal Rumbles. We've talked about some of the best non-Royal Rumble matches. We've talked about some moments. We've talked about what the Rumble does.
Wasn't a terribly eventful week.
That's true. We already mentioned the big one, Moxley's back. Yeah, so I guess that's going to wrap it for this week. Hopefully, next week, the Royal Rumble will be entertaining and we'll be completely wrong in our picks and we'll be able to come back next week and be like, oh man, here's all the things they did right and how we were fools and how we should have seen this coming. And they're brilliant and they've been writing these things for years and we just didn't see it. But more likely, we will be back here next week to talk about the questionable decisions of the Royal Rumble.
As we always do.
As we always do. So, Saturday Royal Rumble. We'll be back here on Sunday to talk about it. Like we said, winners, losers, probably the fans.
Oh.
Calls it like I sees it.
Damn. I still think it's going to be an exciting show.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Rumble. It'll always be fun, even if it's not what we hope it will be. Closing thoughts?
Let's go Trish Stratus, a surprise Royal Rumble winner.
Cody Rhodes wins it all.
Can do it. I hope Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar get more than 10 minutes.
That would be awesome. That would be so good. Yeah. That's actually a match I'm pretty... I don't think it's going to live up to the hype that a lot of people have like put in it over the years, but I think it's going to be a good match.
Yeah, power versus power, right? But and Brock is a freak.
Yeah,
the things he can do. I just hope they don't completely crush Lashley. I think Lashley is a guy that if you're going to get, I don't know, a few more years out of him before he's like going to hang it up, I think you should make him the top guy or one of the top guys because he's proven he can do it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I will make the bold claim that I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to just crush him. I think we're gonna get a match. I think it's possible that we get a little bit of like what we talked about earlier, where Brock Lesnar is kind of like, okay, guy, and then Lashley sort of overpowers him a bit, and then he's like, oh shit, I can't be friendly Farmer Brock. Let me put down the beats and hand out a
I gotta
beating.
work.
Yeah. And I think that's probably more in line with what we get. We get like the bull horns, the bulls locking horns rather, and we get like the push here and the fight there, and who gets advantage, and Lashley like surprise overpowers him once or twice, and then Brock Lesnar's like, all right, let me get my boots on, and then inevitably Brock Lesnar wins.
Yeah, I'm hoping for more of like a Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman or Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe than like a Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg one.
Yeah.
Because no, or even some of the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns matches. Like some of the Brock Lesnar Reigns matches are very good. Some of them are just complete trash.
Speaking of
So,
Reigns, who is he facing this year?
Seth Rollins.
Right.
Yeah, the guy who I think he's even referenced the fact of like in the Shield Triangle, it's Rollins beats Reigns. Like that's how it
Mm-hmm.
goes pretty much all the time. So
Yeah, which was one of my favorite things about the Shield was that rock paper scissors dynamic that they
it was
had for a
great.
very long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So.
Seth kind of can feel cocky about it now because he's like, the piece that beats me is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, haha.
And man, is he a face now, or is he still just
I,
doing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't understand it because like he's still hanging out with Kevin Owens.
Okay.
So
Cool.
they still have that weird we're friends, even though we're totally out for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
thing going on. So I don't know if it's like Kevin Owens turns on him and goes full heel and Rollins goes full face, or if it's just everybody really wants to boo Roman. So Seth looks good by comparison and
Sure.
he'll go right back to being a heel as soon as this is over.
Yeah, it's kind of the two ships passing in the night. We do what we're gonna do our business now, and then we move on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that works fine. You've fed him pretty much all the faces, besides like Drew or whatever. So it makes perfect sense that you do something like that. And like again, it's fine. Rollins doing this wacky gimmick can work either way. It really I think is a boon for him that will benefit him for a long time if he sticks with it. I think it's a really really good look.
I hope so. And Charlotte is in the Rumble. I don't know who Becky is facing. Is Becky? Oh no, Becky's facing Piper
Bianca?
Niven.
Oh,
No,
Piper
Piper
Niven.
Niven. That's not Piper Niven.
Is she still Dewdrop?
Yeah, and I think it might be a triple threat with Liv Morgan in there too,
Oh,
but I'm not
okay.
100% on that one.
Cool. Well, we'll see on Saturday, and then Sunday we'll be back here to talk about it. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week's episode of the Square Circle Sit Down. For Joe and myself, thank you for listening, and have a good night.